when these setbacks happen, they're not always setbacks. They can absolutely be setups for you to be able to impact the people that God put you on this earth to impact, and do it in a way that's real and authentic. And so I'm grateful for all of this.
All right, chiropractors and chiropractic students, welcome to the Family Practice Podcast. You know, the one you've been waiting way too long for, because this podcast will actually stay focused on chiropractic. Not only what it takes to get world-class clinical results for kids and families in your community, but also what it takes to build a legendary, incredible family practice that takes care of your family way beyond your dreams. I'm Dr. Tony Ebel, and I'll be joined by Dr. Matt Hill, Dr. Allie Wright, Jackie Jacobowitz, and incredible guests, chiros, associates, CAs, all these folks making massive impact around the world. We're going to cover everything: pediatrics, perinatal, family practice. This is the podcast you've been waiting for, because moms and dads and families have always needed us. Now they're finally ready for us. I hope you're ready for the Family Practice Podcast. Let's go.
This is probably, I'm biased, but this is probably my favorite interview, because it is one of my biggest mentors of all time. Dr. Paige Roth is joining us today. I met you when I was in school. I think it was at the Mastermind is where I first met you, right? Yep. So I met you at Dr. Josh Axe's Leaders Mastermind, and oh my gosh, that was so fun. My dad was involved. So good. And then that's where I met you. And then I think through PX, we've just gotten close. I was able to work remote for her office. True. I know this is a fun little journey, to talk about. And now I have her on the Family Practice Podcast. So welcome, Dr. Paige.
It's so good to be here. I just feel like we've manifested this so long ago, and now we're here.
I know.
And I'm just so pumped. I'm so honored to be here.
This is fun. I absolutely love your story. So I want you to dive into that a little bit of, you opened right out of school, right? And so start us from there. Let's just go from the beginning of your journey.
Yeah, I think I'm going to start with just uniquely sharing why I became a chiropractor. Yeah, I think it's different than a lot of people. So I come from a family where my mom was a nurse. My dad was a business owner. He owned a grocery store, so entrepreneur. And I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I loved the ability to help people. Like, I obviously didn't want to work in a grocery store. Sorry, Dad, but it just wasn't my calling. So I really, that was my calling. I was like, I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I wanted to do it in the health world. And so during this time, this was back when, this is like aging me, but when every, chiropractic office was a last name, right? Yeah. And so it was like Roth Chiropractic. And so I was like, well, they must own their practices. And so that's kind of what got me going down that rabbit hole. I also had chiropractic care, growing up. I was an athlete, but it was very intermittent, nothing, regular like it should be and like we promote today. And so that's really what led me to the profession. And so when I went to school, I distinctly remember telling my dad, I was like, Dad, I'm going to open a business. I want to be an entrepreneur just like you. And he looked at me and was like, Paige, I don't think you understand. Like, this is so hard. Like, what are you doing to prepare to be a business owner? Yeah. And I was like, I don't know. And I remember I sat down, I looked at the curriculum. I was like, Dad, there's one class and it's in the last trimester. Like, holy crap, what am I going to do? And he was like, you're going to do something, because I'm not going to, allow you to go headfirst into this without any business experience. And I obviously didn't have that background in school either. And so that was something that really, I feel like, made me very, very prepared and very ready to open out of school, because I put in so much work during school to prepare for that side. And I feel like I love these go-getter students that come I'm going to open. And that is just one thing that I try to pound into them, is that you have to put in the work while you're in school. Go to these offices. Our doors are always open to students. I love having students come in, go do that work, go do a screening event, go make errors on other people's dime before
I know, you always told me that.
Open. Seriously, come and fail, face first in our office. I 100% let it happen, because I did that a bunch of times, but it made me the person that I was in the preparedness to do that. So that's kind of what led, it was always that. I'll go back by saying, though, I'll touch on it a little bit, but you don't have to do that. I think that was a limited mindset for me, that I felt like I'd be a failure if I didn't open right away. And that is not the case. If I could go back, once we get into my story, if I could go back and get a few years of associateship under my belt prior, I would have done it 100%. Obviously, wouldn't change the way it was, but don't think that you're a failure if you want to go out and get some experience first. There's totally value in that. But fast forward to that, graduated from Palmer College of Chiropractic in February of 2018. My plan was to open right out of the gate. My husband had moved to Des Moines where we were going to open. We had a location. The unique thing about that location, though, is that the building wasn't built. So it was a new build. And come to find out that they were just like toying me along. Like we hadn't signed the lease, thank God. But they're like, yeah, it'll be ready in this time frame. You'll be good. And my husband's like, Paige, it's a bean field. And I'm in, out in Denver, Colorado doing my, associateship. And I'm just like, what am I going to do? I couldn't really do much about it because I wasn't there. Yeah. And so I'll just say that like God opens and closes doors for a reason. And this is just one of those unique things that just like was so like in the future just showed like, oh my gosh, you were shutting that door so this one could open. It was just so evident and so clear. So what ended up happening, I came back and it was delayed for about a year. So this was also a blessing though, because I was able to just go out and be the community chiropractor. Yeah. And that like having that time and making that time if you're going to start up is so important. Like going to B&I meetings, like all the things like kissing babies, hugging moms, just like getting to know your community. Because I wasn't from that community, so I didn't know anyone. And so I invested all of my free time just going, getting to know my community, learning about their needs and just sharing, who we are. But more importantly, just serving them, because once my doors open, I wanted them to be able to return that favor. Yeah. And I didn't just want to be like an asshole, just like going in and asking everyone for everything. So I just really served during that time, and it paid off massively when we went to open our doors, that next year. And we ended up going in the like inner city of Des Moines, which all my mentors at the time were like, no, go to the burbs. And it just didn't work out that way. And we opened up in the city of Des Moines, other than parking being absolutely chaotic. It was the best thing that we could have done. It was an area of our town that really needed served, and it's our home. Like I can't imagine being anywhere else. So upon opening our doors, I opened with a bang, I would say, like one of those things where I was in the mindset that like we had to have this huge practice right out of the gate. A lot of my mentors had those practices, and I thought that's what I wanted. Come to find out, it was a lot. And it was a lot of pressure on me, and a lot of it built up over time. And so I had a really high overhead starting. And that's one thing that I would recommend, like the lower overhead that you can start. That is one thing I would definitely have changed, because I felt like that high overhead and all of that pressure coming out of school with debt just put a lot of pressure. And I didn't realize how much it was building up until I opened my doors. And that overflow of just stress and emotion and just this need to provide and be like, oh my gosh, what if I fail? I really let the enemy creep in. And this was the first time in my life that I've ever experienced it to this extent. Like I've never had any challenges with that. And I was a shell of a human. And you would never know that on the outside. I could turn it on. And what's crazy is the practice was successful. Like we had over 100 people on our books coming in. We never had a month that we didn't, profit, which is essentially, in any business. In chiropractic, I feel like it's common just because we rock at what we do. Yeah. But like in any business, like usually you start in that zero, that was not the case. I was successful. I just let the enemy take over my mind and get into the what ifs. Like, what if this happens? And I was to the point where I was like, if I fail, like I'm going to lose my husband, which was not the case. He's the most supportive, amazing man in the world. And he would never have done that. And like my family, will no longer respect me, or like they'll be disappointed in me. I'll never have a family because I went bankrupt. Like I'm talking rabbit hole after rabbit hole that I went down and got so stuck. And so like I remember telling you this, like I like sharing this because I feel like everyone sees us where we're at now and like, man, it was hard. Like I don't want you guys to go into this and think that it was so easy, but I don't want to scare you either. But I remember times I would adjust and then go in the bathroom, literally lay on the bathroom floor and cry, like call my mom, call someone, just go through my phone call to just like try to complain to people about how miserable I was, and then go turn it on and go back out there and do my thing. So it wasn't always rainbows and butterflies, but I'm grateful for that tough time. And I think everyone that's gone through a hard time can relate back to this. There's so many lessons that God teaches you during those struggles that built onto like future challenges that I had that we'll talk about here in a little bit in terms of my fertility journey and things like that. So I'm so grateful for it because I grew so much. I became incredibly dependent on the Lord. Like when you hit your knees and pray, like, girl, I was
when you're on the bathroom floor on your knees.
I was literally in the bath. 100%. And he showed up in ways that maybe weren't according to my plan, but were according to his. And I'm just so grateful for that. And I'll just circle back to with where we originally wanted to open that bean field. So 2 years to the date, we opened our second location across the street.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's where you're at now.
Yeah, literally.
2 years after.
2 years after. So 2 years from opening in Des Moines, we had an opportunity where an amazing doctor, Dr. Brandon, came to us and wanted to partner with us in terms of opening a second location.
Yep.
And we're at the time, I was like, no, yes, I don't know. Like, this is great.
Yeah.
But he's an incredible doctor. I was like, dude, you're going to crush this.
Yeah.
This is a yes. He just wanted a little, like that sense of community.
Yeah.
And so, yes, he literally opened that location across the street from where I was originally supposed to.
I did not know that. So the Norwalk office is over there.
Yep. So now we have
Oh
that.
my gosh, that's so cool. I'm learning so much right now. And we've had like hundreds of FaceTimes and I'm like, what? Why haven't you told me this?
There's lots of chapter, Allie. Hopefully we got a lot of time on
No, we're literally, let's just go all day because these stories are so important.
I'm here for it.
Okay, so walk us through. So now tell us about your new office.
Yeah.
Just like how you've completely grown and taken over.
Yeah, so TRC 2.0 was launched and opened in March of 2024. So we've been in it for exactly a year. So we had a 5-year lease on our first space that we leased, and then we went and bought a building. And so this is one thing that I will just highly encourage anyone to do, whether you're a chiropractor, whatever, just be a dreamer and write your dreams down. I sat down about 2 years or actually a year into practice and just did a vivid vision and wrote down just like where I wanted the practice to go in a year, 2 years, 3 years. And part of that was buying a building. And like at the time, it's very funny because my husband is not a dreamer. He's not in the office, but he's like very involved in like the financials. And he's like, how are you going to buy a building? Like one of those things. It
seems a little unrealistic.
He's the realist.
Yeah.
I'm the dreamer.
Yeah.
But no, I put that on paper and just like really dreamt about having this space, having this community that not only we could be, but also providers that we loved in the community that could be a part of that, could be subleasers. And that happened. Like that dream came true, and it came true so much quicker than we had ever intended. And everything that I wrote down, I love reading back on them, and I'm like, oh my gosh, literally everything happened. And I think it's just a part of your subconscious too, where like when you put it on paper, there's something to it. Yeah. And like you're constantly, thinking about that, even though you may not be thinking, you're thinking about it. Yeah. And you just put that into fruition, and those things are more likely going to happen, and some don't. And that's okay. Yeah. Like they're not meant to happen. Yeah. But that is kind of how that was dreamt up, and it happened. And we've been in it for, like I said, for a year. We do lease out the back 1,500 square feet of it to a perinatal massage therapist, we have a sauna in there. So we have an infrared sauna in there. We have a midwife that's in there and shares a room with a nutritionist, and then a pelvic floor therapist. And so like we've really got it good. So in terms of referrals and just having
all right there.
Yeah, our A team, and it's in this beautiful space. Yeah. We have, back to our practice, we have an incredible team. Like all glory to this team. Like I'm sitting here in the seat, getting to share this story, but at the end of the day, my team, my partner in practice, my brother-in-law, have a really unique relationship where he is actually a partner. Yeah. He came on 2 years in, and we partnered in the practice. So we have the same last name, but we're not married. Very confusing.
Yeah, that is confusing.
Everyone's like, so your husband? I'm like, oh, no.
We're not married.
Yeah, my work husband. And so he's there. We have Dr. Sam, and just we have rock star CAs. Like when I talk about like A players, man, that is one thing I feel like I've done a really good job of is hiring the right people at the right time and just making sure that we have the right people in the right seats to make sure that mission is moving forward. Yeah. The way that I dreamt it up.
Yeah. Let's pause there. Let's talk about hiring. Let's talk about what are some qualities that you look for when hiring, or how does that process look like for you guys?
Yeah. So believe it or not, we're in the middle of hiring.
Perfect. So let's talk about it.
These are waters that I really haven't had to go down often. We've lost more team in the last 3 months than I've lost in my entire career, all for good reason. Yeah,
I promise. Just like
all amazing things. And that's one thing that like I know that they may not be there forever. I hope they are. I'm going to cast a vision that I hope to God that like gets them on fire and they want to be a part of it. But my goal is always to make sure that they leave a better, more rounded person. And that's just something like if someone worked for me and was like, I'm leaving because this culture sucks and my boss sucks, that would crush me. I would be like, oh my, I failed on like the ultimate level. So that's really, really important. But when it comes to hiring, I think it's really about hiring the right person for the role that you need. And so that's something that we've done over the years. We used to hire just like, we need bodies.
Yeah.
Come in here. We were really lucky.
Anybody else?
Yeah, like just help, like just like send help.
Yeah.
We need you. But now we're really intentional about what it is that we need and for what role. And so then we take those qualities of like, okay, if we need someone to be a front desk CA that's welcoming everyone in, okay, what do we need? They need to be bubbly. They need to be personal. They need to love people, like all of these things. Versus if we're hiring for back office, like maybe they need to be a little bit more technical. Like what attributes do we want? And so intentionally hiring based on what we're hiring for has really changed the game for us. But at the end of the day, it comes down to culture. Like they may not be on fire for chiropractic. That's okay. Not everyone wakes up and breathes, you know.
Yeah, not
BJ Palmer. Yeah. I get it. But they're gonna learn. Like they
will.
Yeah, they will. You better believe they're gonna learn and then be a part of that. But just making sure that they're a good person and they have good work ethic. Like you can start to see that. And our process is pretty lengthy. What we do is we go typically on Deed, we post on our social networks, those types of things. They inquire and then we require them to send a video about 3 things that they like about our office and like going through, you know, our websites, things like that. They send that back. So you can get a little bit of a feel through that. And then we send them an email and say, okay, you made it to the next process. Part of the process, you need to call and schedule your in-person interview. And so that requires them to get on the phone. We listen to them on the phone, make sure they're legit. And then they come in and they shadow for a day with our team. So our team gets to feel them out. Obviously, you're not going to learn everything about everyone, you know, in 3 hours, but you get a feel. The other thing we make them do is we have different procedures that we have our team learn. So different, like for example, a tour, like you need to be able to give someone a tour. We send that script to them and have them actually learn the first 3 paragraphs and perform that upon coming in. I don't even interview them before they do that. I've had people show up and are like,
if they're bold enough to do that, you're in.
Yeah, literally. Yes. So like I've had people show up and like, oh yeah, I don't have that prepared. I'm like, okay, well, thanks. See ya. Like literally, and they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, don't wait. Like this is, you didn't follow the directions. If you can't follow a simple direction, like you're not going to be a good fit. So there's little things that we put into place that by the time I'm in the room interviewing them, unless you totally blow it and you're just not a good culture fit, you're probably going to get the job. And so those are some of the things that we've put in place and learned over the years to just make sure that we're getting A players and creating an amazing culture. That is another thing when you're hired, like I sit down with them. A lot of our CAs, a lot of our team are girls, which, you know, hens in the hen house type thing. You know, you're going to get it. We're females. We like to gossip, you know, like gossip, but it has to be positive gossip. I tell them there is an absolutely no toxicity tolerance. Like if you have something to say or need to address with a team member, you can either address it with them front on, or you can come to me if you need help with that. But if I find out that there is anything going on behind the scenes, you know, to tarnish another, you know, team member, you're gone. Like there's a zero policy for it, and I've fired for it as well. And so our team knows that. So like I just feel like it's written in the sand. They know it. And that creates really good relationships with them. And they know they can come to me if they do have issues.
How did you start that culture? Obviously, you grew up playing sports. Do you think that helped you a lot? Like, because you're like a coach, right? Like this is your, I remember coaches saying like, we're looking for that culture kid. Like you're the culture kid on our team. You bring this in. So what are some other, like grew up in sports, what are some other tips you can give people to start preparing to be this leader?
I would say I was because of sort of like, I think back to my like high school self, I was awful. I was just like, give me the ball, let me score. Like, let's just, I was not a good leader. Like I was really bad.
My stat.
Yeah. Like, come on. Like it was just the me show, you know, and I knew that, but I also knew how important and how team was going to make or break me because I could only do so much. I learned that early and I was like, oh boy. So early.
Did you start with a CA?
Yeah. I started with 2 CAs.
2 CAs.
One,
okay, cool.
Yeah. 2 CAs. And so I just started investing in leadership. So, I mean, there is so much content out there, like podcasts, books, and that is the only, anytime I was in my car, that was what was on, you know, the Ed Milet's, you know, all of the books. I mean, there's millions of them out there, but that's all I consumed for like a year straight. And it taught me a lot and it humbled me is what it really did. It really humbled me and made me appreciate how valuable team is. Because like I said, you know, when I'm at the office, like I need to be in my lane doing the things that I do best.
Yes.
And I do very little nowadays. Like I really feel like I
love that though.
I haven't
set it up.
Yes. And I've learned how to delegate the right way and really find the right positions and right places for them to be where they can be in their lane and just absolutely kick butt in what they do and feel good about it.
That's good. Let's transition to momhood here. Cause this is something that I think is so often overlooked in not only chiropractic, but the business world as a whole is like, yes, there's women like us who are like, we want to be leaders. We want to be powerhouses. We want to own and be entrepreneurs. But then we have this place in our heart where like, God also made me to be a mom and like, I want to be present with my kids. So how did you set up your office to be prepared to be a mom? I guess. And let's go through your fertility journey and all those things and just your story.
100%. So once again, things didn't go according to my plan, right? Mm-hmm. So I was a chiropractor and like a natural health advocate. And I was like, when I want to get pregnant, I'm going to get pregnant.
I will. Right away. Come on.
Snap my fingers and get pregnant. For some reason, you think that you go your entire life trying not to get pregnant.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, hey, body, let's get pregnant. Yeah. It just, you wonder why it doesn't work. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, we wonder why we're challenging. Yeah. Those types of things. And so I didn't get pregnant right away. A year went by. I wasn't pregnant. And I really started to fall into that, just disappointment. I felt like I was identified by that. I was like, I feel like a fraud. Like all these women are coming in and not that I'm getting them pregnant by any means, but like they're struggling and like they're having babies through chiropractic, all of these things. And that just wasn't happening for us. And at this time I was still practicing as a solo practitioner, running hard, still driving that practice really hard and trying to get pregnant at the same time. And what I came to find out and realize was that I had to step back. Like I was, literally being chased by the bear, fight or flight. Like, we didn't have Oura rings back then. Yeah. Like and I didn't have the HRV at that point in time, but I know without a doubt that I was there. And I had to come to this realization that if I wanted to have a family and wanted, to do it the way that I ideally wanted to do and allow my body to do it the way it was designed, I needed to step back a little bit. And so that was right around the time my brother-in-law came on. So once again, thank God for him. It opened up so many opportunities and doors for me to step out, just in focus on me and focus on my body and healing. And after doing, and really analyzing scans, I remember going to a PX seminar. Actually, I was at the PX seminar
in Atlanta.
Yes. Yeah. And we're in the middle of our fertility journey. We're about a year and a half in, and I like broke on that stage. And Tony was like, go home, take scans, send them to me. And I did. And he's like, do you see the adrenal fatigue that is going on right now?
See that you have no adrenals.
Yeah, literally my adrenals were all yellow. I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. And so once, like literally within 6 months of that, I was pregnant.
Yeah.
And once again, like I just feel like God works in ways that, at the time it was really frustrating, but that struggle, Allie, has made me the mom I am today. And I believe without a doubt, I am a better mom today than I would have been without that struggle. Yeah. Like, momming is hard. Like, stay at home.
We talk about this whole
man. Like, what you do without childcare and like stay at home moms.
I don't know.
I'm like, yo, like, God bless y'all. Like, you are the real superheroes of the world. Because don't get me wrong, I love it. I love being home with my babies, but like, it tests me. And there are days where I'm like, holy cow, like calling my husband, like, you gotta get home. Like, I can't do this.
Now.
Like, it is hard. It's challenging. But what I try to remind myself is I prayed for this.
Yeah.
Like, I prayed for the hard. And so when my almost 2-year-old is laying on the ground, like screaming over a fit over a snack, like those types of things, and I'm trying to cook dinner and all the things that are going on, like, I just turn to God and thank him. Like, hey, I prayed for this. I'm so grateful for it. And I feel like that's a part of motherhood that can really be overlooked. You can get stuck in the hard. And that's something that I'm really grateful that I had that struggle, because it constantly reminds me of how beautiful and how amazing these blessings are that I do have in my life.
It reminds me when I just love your story. And I was there when you broke down on the stage. And I think looking at you, knowing you before, is like, and you are like, I'm like, Paige is a powerhouse. She she would never cry, and then just like watching the realness come out of you, I think was so cool to just see, I don't know, all of that. And then working for you too, that quote of, you can't make a baby while you're running from a bear, like your body will never do that. That came from like working from you. Now we use it all the time. I remember building that Canva out. And so that's just like 100%. A just like circle moment for me too, hearing you say of like, oh my goodness, that's like what you went through and what so many moms go through of like, your body's not going to create a baby when you're lying on the floor bawling and, you know, like just all those things and running. And then just like having you realize that, I think, yes, obviously you, like you said, like you're such a better mom for it, but also like such a better doctor too. Yeah. And that's what's been so cool to see.
Yes. And that's something that completely transformed how I practice too. Like I get to be empathetic towards these moms that are struggling. You know, if I would have got pregnant right away, like it is like, it's like, oh, sorry. Yeah. Through that. Like I can, and you know, there's other things in my story that like how my births went. Yep. You know, I had an unexpected hospital birth.
I love your birth.
You know, and so that's another thing that when these setbacks happen, they're not always setbacks. They can absolutely be setups for you to be able to impact the people that God put you on this earth to impact and do it in a way that's real and authentic. Yeah. And so I'm grateful for all of this.
I love your story. That's awesome. Let's go back to how you prepared your office to basically take you out of it. Oh, yeah. Because I think that's also like, yes, we love to be chiropractors. We love to be moms. How do we do it both well? You know, and it's like, and sometimes I'm like, yeah, balance, but like, does balance really even exist? I don't know. Like, so just really talk to us about how you set up your office. You kind of mentioned it, but.
Yeah. I would say, you know, I'm always trying to navigate to find that balance, but it's just not possible. Yeah. The way I have kind of come to accept it is there's going to be different seasons, right? There's going to be heavier practice seasons where the practice needs me more. You know, when our doctors are having babies or, you know, different things, growth periods within the practice, the practice is going to need me a little bit more. And I may not have quite as much time with my kids. And that's okay. And then there's going to be seasons like right now, I took 15 weeks of my maternity leave. Like, what a blessing. Like, I don't know.
Especially as an owner doc.
Yeah.
Like, that's like unheard of.
Yes,
you know,
like I really don't know anyone that's been able to do that. Yeah. And thank God to my team. Like I stepped out and like they've stepped up in every way. Like literally, like if I didn't come back, I think it would be okay. Like obviously I want to come back. Yeah. I'm like, do you guys even need me?
You're like, can I work for you?
Yes. Yeah. Like, can I get hired back on? Like, do you need me? This is awkward. Like we hired a team member during that time and she's like, who are you? I was like, oh yeah, I'm Dr. Paige. Nice to meet you. You know, it's just like wild, but like that is so cool to see. And I'm always trying to re-navigate it, but I do know how important it is to be a present mom. And these years go by so fast. Like I'm looking back, you know, I've got Judah on my chest here. He's 3 months old. Maeve's about to be 2. And I'm like, what happened? Yeah. Like, where is this going? And you know that with Goldie, like it goes so fast. So I don't want to miss out on that. And that would really, like, that's when I get really stressed is if I do feel like I'm missing out on, you know, my kids growing up and those types of things. So once again, just building that team, putting them in place was something that I was able to do to give a little time. Once again, if I would have had a baby right away, probably would have had that infrastructure. Exactly. So once again, another blessing in disguise, but it just allowed me to be able to be in that role because I love to be a business owner. It's a part of my identity. I love stay-at-home moms, but it's not for me. And so I really get the best of both worlds where I'm able to do that, but try to find that harmony in doing both.
Yeah, that's so good. Because I feel like I said, like as women, and I know that like a lot of students ask this too. They're like, how can I be a mom and be a chiropractor? What does it look like? Yeah. You know, in those routes. I also want to go back. This is a question we didn't prep any of this, but like this is another one of like a lot of students, including myself, had the question of like, can I be a good doc without being a mom? Oh, so let's kind of backtrack into how were you connecting with those moms before you were a mom and all of that stuff, I guess.
No, yeah, you absolutely can. I mean, for the first, 4 years, I was not a mom. And you can absolutely connect with them, but you got to do the work. You got to learn. Like, I remember this is very embarrassing. A woman told me she had a VBAC, and I didn't know what it was. I was like, can you spell that? She's like VBAC. I was like, oh, yeah. I like played it off like I knew. Oh, yeah.
Let me look that up.
No idea what a VBAC was. And that like stuck with me. I was like, and moms know. Like, man, moms know their stuff. And so I was like, I gotta get it together. Like, I really gotta zone this in. So if you feel like, you make mistakes, like, it's okay. Like, just play it, fake it till you make it if you don't know it. But do the work, dang it. Like, read the books, listen to the podcast, like, get mentorship from, other people that have that experience. They don't care if you're a mom or not. Yeah. They just care that you know what they're going.
Yeah, they want to trust you.
Yeah, they want to trust you and be able to, just do the work, read the books, listen to the podcast, prepare yourself, and just make sure that you know what a VBAC is going into.
Number one takeaway from today, know what a VBAC is. So VBAC, okay?
Oh my gosh, that's so
and hope that your patients get their VBAC.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And be a huge promoter of it.
Exactly. All right, Dr. Paige, any last words of wisdom or advice or anything that you want to give us? I know that you are such a light in chiropractic as a whole, especially like what we've hit on this whole entire podcast of being a mom and being a chiropractor, and that it is all possible. So is there anything else you'd like to give the listeners on that?
Yeah.
Or anything?
Yeah, no, I just...
Free range.
Yeah, you watch out. I just want to encourage, anyone that's coming out of school, you have these questions, especially as a female, of like, can I have it all? And the answer is yes. Like, you 100% can. Does it take a lot of work? Is there a lot of grind? Will there be tears? There certainly was in my story, and honestly, there will be in yours as well. But just know that you're always going to learn from any of those setbacks. It may not be going according to your plan. Like, just remember, it's always according to his, and it will all in the end work out in his favor, which is always the best. And in terms of being a mom and a chiropractor, yes, it's totally doable. It's different. Like, every day is different. I feel like, my priorities are constantly changing. Being now a mom of 2, like, it's a lot on our table, but we're navigating it, and it's okay to have different seasons, throughout that journey. And just know that, whatever season you're in, it's a good season, and just embark on whatever season that you're in at that moment and just try to enjoy it, because it goes by so fast.
Yeah. And it's all going to work out. Like you said,
yes,
like it
does.
Every season is special. You just work through it. Sometimes you have to give more to your first baby, which was The Office. And sometimes you have to give more to your other babies.
I you do. I totally have
3 babies. And maybe 4 with that other location.
100%. Oh, yes, 100%. Yes.
So many different things. Well, thank you so much for being on here. You guys can find her on Instagram. You can find her. We'll put that all in the show notes. But thank you. I want to do so many more of these episodes with Dr. Paige. It's been so much fun. You can also see her on the perinatal experience that we have launching soon. And so thank you. This was so much fun. You guys can find us at the Pediatric Experience on all social platforms. And thank you for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.
Hey, Dr. Tony here, and I wanted to say thank you for listening to the Family Practice Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, like and subscribe to the show so you don't miss a thing. Also, if you're looking for more content from us, you can absolutely subscribe to our newsletter, watch exclusive episodes on YouTube, and dive deep into the articles and blogs on our website. All of this is linked in today's show notes. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next episode.